Like most followers of the NFL draft, I wasn't in love with the wide receiver class this year. And yet, somehow, they still found a way to break my heart at the NFL Combine. With what little hope I had for this class producing the next Ja'Marr Chase seemingly out the window, I started diving deeper into some of these questionable prospects. But doing so made me realize that I, and most everyone who covers the draft, is probably very wrong. So let's take a look at 3 receivers who haven't been given the love they deserve so far. And in the process, I'll answer why this class is so misunderstood, and why certain GMs are going to look like geniuses in a couple of years, while other GMs will continue to draft D linemen with no pass rush moves. First up, we have a receiver who definitely hurt his stock the most during the NFL Combine. It's unclear how much Addison will fall, but however far it is will be too far. And more than likely that drop will be the source of some really angry Twitter mentions to some social media accounts down the line. Despite the Combine numbers and the poor RAS score, Addison is definitely a good receiver. And there's reason to believe that those numbers aren't really a reflection of his actual athleticism. He ran a 4.51 in high school. Typically receivers get a lot faster, and his 4.49 doesn't sound like the sort of time that a receiver would have after going to 2 elite programs like Pittsburgh and USC. It makes me think that the back injury wasn't just malingering. But then again, even if those numbers are representative, Addison has a sort of inside-out versatility as a receiver that teams really covet right now. And yes, Addison doesn't have the physical profile of a traditional outside receiver for that part of the role, but he has a crafty release package that works against man and press. And against zone, his smooth cuts help him get over the top of the defense. Considering all that, I just don't see how Addison doesn't find a role in the NFL and potentially excel. Next up, we have Jaxon Smith-Njigba, aka JSN. Unlike Addison, he played it smart and didn't even bother running a 40. And he actually improved his draft stock by doing so. Though the fact that he actually had to improve his draft stock really is mind-boggling, considering his sophomore tape is so good, and he managed to produce with guys like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson on the roster. But still, despite those bona fides, there was even chatter of him falling to the second round. The reason for all that chatter is because he's likely going to be just a slot guy in the NFL. The fact that he's dropping mainly because he'll be a slot player is kind of bizarre. And I guess it's true that some offenses don't feature a true slot guy and need someone with more versatility, and we've also seen a lot of teams employ that role into great effect. All you have to do is look back a season ago to see that from the slot you can put up Quentin Johnson type numbers. And considering the drills that he actually tested in during the Combine, like the shuttle and the 3-cone, there's reason to believe that he could really excel as a slot in the NFL. His times in both were not only the best this year, they're better than anyone in previous draft classes like the 2020 and the 2021, which are both supposedly way superior. I really think if you take into account his impressive Combine performance and the numbers that slot receivers can put up these days in the NFL, JSN is more than enough to make anyone reconsider this draft class overall. Lastly, we've got Quentin Johnson. Like JSN, he also didn't run his 40. But unlike Jason, he didn't create much of a buzz, which is surprising because his results were also pretty impressive. He managed to finish 3rd in the vertical jump and 2nd in broad. Even more surprising is the fact there's a lack of buzz around him, despite the fact there are a lot of NFL offenses where his particular skill set would be very useful. One of the biggest knocks on Johnson is he doesn't really play like a true X, and he's more of a yak guy, and a part of that is because he is 6'3", and I guess it's like an unwritten rule that you have to be posting up people at that size. But the thing is, a lot of those Kyle Shanahan offenses, the ones that give easy looks to your quarterback that have proliferated, need yak guys. And again, he's not great at the catch point, and who knows if he'll get there, but he is special once you get the ball in his hands. His success at the next level, I think, largely depends on where he goes. If he goes to a team that is just dead set on turning him into something he's not, he's gonna bust. But if he goes to a team that knows what they got, it's definitely gonna work. Luckily for Johnston, there's no shortage of that Shanahan offense going around the NFL. So I think it's fair to say, after a deep dive, that the pronouncements that this class is without legitimate talent were foolhardy. And yes, this class has some more obvious weaknesses than some classes did in the prior years, but it more than makes up for it with prospects with clear skill sets that translate to the NFL. And this wouldn't be the first time that the wide receivers in a draft were terribly underrated. You just need to look back to 2019. Only 2 receivers ended up going in the first round that year, Marquise Brown and N'Keal Harry. However, the 2nd and 3rd rounds now look legendary. DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin. Looking back, I'm sure those teams who drafted Darnell Savage, Jerry Tillery, and Jonathan Abram sure wish they could have those picks back. especially after seeing what free agent receivers now get on the open market. Anyways, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. And also, if you're wondering why certain receivers weren't covered today, that's because I have some other videos planned, including ones with Zay Flowers and Jalen Hyatt and some others. But most importantly, what do you think of this wide receiver class? Is it overrated, underrated, properly rated, or just rated? Let me know in the comments. Thanks again for watching.